Bloom's Taxonomy, a guide to teaching. Taxonomy. The term basically refers to the biological classification and arrangement of species in botany and zoology. It categorizes nomenclature, the order of animal kingdom, and others. The classification order is taken from the structure of this very source by the educationists to form the taxonomy of educational objectives. Domains of learning. Number 1, cognitive or thinking domain. Number 2, the affective or feeling domain. Number 3, psychomotor or kinesthetic domain. Cognitive or thinking domain. Cognitive domain includes more of the thinking order, which deals with the brain functions and mental skills for acquiring knowledge. The famous categorization of this acquisition of knowledge was proposed by Benjamin Bloom and other researchers in 1956, which is known as Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy. The taxonomy comprises of 6 levels of learning, which explains completely the whole methodology of an effective teaching and the learning process. It is represented in the pyramid, beginning from the lower level thinking at the base of it to the higher level of thinking at the top. Knowledge, remembering. It is basically the recall of the information read or heard or memorized. For example, answering the literary questions, memorizing poems, or reciting alphabets. The term knowledge was later revised as remembering. Comprehension, understanding. It is the level which implies the ability of interpretation, compare and contrast, and comprehending the meaning of the text in the learner's own words. This is called understanding in the revised version of the Bloom's taxonomy. Application, applying. As moving further from lower level thinking order to the higher level, the third stage on the pyramid is application or applying. This is the stage where learners put to an action the knowledge and information learned prior to it. Analysis, analyzing. Analysis, revised as analyzing, is the stage where learner compares parts, study them, and find the relation between the parts to form a whole, like a jigsaw puzzle. It determines the purpose and the quality of the text. Evaluation, evaluating. The higher level of thinking that suggests and judges the text and propose the possible measures to improve it. The learner presents the inferential opinion based upon the arguments. Synthesis, creating. The highest level on the pyramid where the learner is able to create original piece of work after acquiring the basic understanding of all the required elements about it. Learning styles, VARK. Visual, auditory, reading, writing preferences, kinesthetic. Visual. Visual learners can absorb information best when it is presented in the form of organizers, maps, graphs, diagrams, flowcharts, or patterns. Therefore, it does not include videos or pictures. Thus, these learners fall into more mathematical or scientific learning style. The cognitive domain caters these learners. Auditory. The learners with more auditory inclination learn effectively when are involved in active group discussions, attending lectures or other activities with more talking opportunities. They can be described as social learners as well. The learners with refined hearing ability are good music composers, singers, or good listeners, so are also called musical. These are the examples of affective domain. Reading and writing. The learners learn best when read books or do the written assignments. They describe everything better in words while speaking or writing, rather than illustrations or graphs. The students with this kind of aptitude, alternatively called literary or intellectual learners. Affective domain is the best explanation of these learners. Kinesthetic. The learners who are more likely interested in physical experience, hands-on activities, concrete personal experience, are attached to reality rather than words or graphs, are kinesthetic learners. Psychomotor domain describes these learners. Assessments. Assessment is a sure way to move forward while defining and meeting the long-term and short-term goals in the education process. The outcome or the results prove to be the milestones for the continuous growth. There are many ways to assess the learning and to devise remedial measures for the shortcomings. Types of assessments: diagnostic, formative, summative, overall. Diagnostic. Diagnostic, as the name suggests, is the way of a SWOT analysis prior to the commencement of the certain course or level. It helps to shape the learning to perfectly fit according to the needs of the learner and focus on the areas of concern. Formative, informal assessment. The assessment is the way of assessing not just the learning but also evaluating the teaching and to plan further, keeping in view the points which need more clear instruction in the coming sessions. It is carried out after each learning session in the form of quick questioning, quizzes, or worksheets. Summative, formal assessment. The summative assessment are the formal form of examination at the end of the semester, terminal or annual, in order to promote learners from one level to another, or to assess the learning of the syllabus so far to go further, starting a new term of studies. Overall, formal assessment. The overall assessment is carried out to assess the learning of the course or level as a whole, to award certificates or degrees. It is optional, as summative assessment serves the purpose for the overall assessment as well. Lesson planning. Lesson plan, Wikipedia. A lesson plan is a teacher's detailed description of the course of instruction or learning trajectory for a lesson. A daily lesson plan is developed by a teacher to guide class learning. Details will vary depending on the preference of the teacher, subject being covered, and the needs of the students. There may be requirements mandated by the school system regarding the plan. A lesson plan is the teacher's guide for running a particular lesson, and it includes the goal, what the students are supposed to learn. Lesson plans. Lesson plan is the set of rules which enables a smooth functioning of the lesson without disruptions or the disturbance. The lesson plans are divided for each lesson and are written on the daily or weekly basis. The plan leads you to succeed or to fail. Either the plan is to fail or to succeed. Well-written plans are destined to comply with the desired goals or objectives, and a plan poorly made leads to the abyss of the failure. Time division. The time division depends upon the duration assigned to each lesson. The total time of the lesson is divided into smaller parts, assigning tasks for each interval. For example, brainstorming 5 minutes, reading 10 minutes, and in the end, formative assessment and the brief sum up of the learning of the day. Objectives. Objective of the lesson is the key that opens the door to the accomplishment of the plan for the lesson. The objectives are written for both short and long-term goals. Effective objectives. The efficacy of the objectives can be described by the well-known jargon SMART. S. Specific, M. Measurable, A. Attainable, R. Realistic, T. Time-bound. S. Specific. The objective is focused particularly for the achievement of the learning outcome for the specific topic or lesson, the very point which would be discussed and learned during one lesson time. M. Measurable. The objective set the criterion which can be measured through formative assessment there and then during the lesson and does not refer to the long-term learning achievement. A. Attainable. The target set in the objective for the lesson is not vague to achieve. It is possible to attain and learned within the time frame. R. Realistic. The objective is not a far-fetched idea which is not appropriate to be true or real and is hard to accomplish. T. Time-bound. The objective can be attained and learning would take place within the time allotted for each lesson. For more videos, like, subscribe and comment.